In a Nigerian commercial dispute, the most elegantly drafted agreement can be completely worthless. Two parties can reach total consensus and apply their signatures to paper, but under the law, mutual consent does not automatically create an enforceable contract. Without paying a highly specific tax, this finalized document is inadmissible in any civil court. It cannot be entered into evidence, and no judge can enforce its terms. This strict rule comes from Section 22(4) of the Stamp Duties Act. It mandates that any instrument executed in Nigeria or relating to property situated in Nigeria must be duly stamped according to the law at the time of execution to be given in evidence. The defining characteristic of this tax is its target. Stamp duty does not assess the financial transaction itself, the ultimate profits, or the individuals involved. It taxes the physical or digital instrument. Ignorance of this rule leaves clients entirely exposed. A multi-million naira real estate deal, or a massive corporate merger, can be functionally erased simply because the paperwork documenting it lacks the correct governmental mark. Securing the legal admissibility of a document requires moving it through a rigid compliance workflow. This workflow operates on three pillars: determining the correct jurisdictional routing, applying the right computational methodologies, and satisfying modern digital mandates. The Federal High Court operates as the ultimate filter for these documents. It is the testing ground where your compliance workflow is either validated or your contract is rejected. Navigating the Stamp Duties Act is a required mechanism of survival in the Nigerian justice system. The first phase of our compliance decision tree begins with establishing authority. Which government body has the legal right to stamp the document? The law divides jurisdiction based strictly on the legal identity of the transacting parties. If the instrument involves a company transacting with another company or a company transacting with an individual, jurisdiction goes to the federal government. Specifically, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, or FIRS, is the sole competent authority to impose and collect duties on these corporate instruments. Conversely, if the instrument is executed strictly between private individuals, jurisdiction falls entirely to the relevant state tax authority. Section 4 of the Act maintains this strict bifurcation: federal for corporate involvement, state for individual transactions. Submit your corporate lease to a state authority or a private sale to the FIRS, and the duty is improperly assessed. The document loses its legal protection immediately. Once jurisdiction is set, the decision tree moves to Phase 2, calculating the required tax through one of two distinct computation models. The first model is fixed duties. This is a flat rate applied to a document regardless of the amount of money exchanging hands in the underlying transaction. Documents assessed under fixed duties include powers of attorney, proxy forms, guarantor forms, and certificates of occupancy. The second model is ad valorem duties. Here, the tax scales proportionately with the exact financial consideration written into the contract. Instruments that trigger an ad valorem assessment include deeds of assignment, charged at 1.5%, as well as tenancy agreements and legal mortgages. If the contract is negotiated in a foreign currency, Section 10 of the Act requires the ad valorem duty to be calculated based on the exchange rate on the exact date the instrument was drafted. Assessing a multi-million naira ad valorem instrument as a fixed duty results in severe underpayment. The law categorizes the document as insufficiently stamped, stripping away its admissibility. The scope of the Stamp Duties Act now extends well beyond physical paper. Recent amendments officially classify transient electronic documents as dutiable instruments. Consider a common scenario. A company accountant sends a quick WhatsApp message stating, "This is to acknowledge the receipt of the sum of 200,000 naira." Under the current legal framework, that digital text constitutes a formal receipt, making it liable for stamp duty. To comply, the recipient must log this digital interaction on the FIRS e-stamp portal to secure a digital tag and an official electronic stamp. For high-volume banking transactions, the government introduced the Electronic Money Transfer Levy under Section 89A to automate collection. The EMTL imposes a singular, one-off charge of 50 naira on electronic receipts or transfers of 10,000 naira or more deposited in any bank. The statute explicitly dictates how this revenue is distributed. 15% goes to the federal government, and 85% is allocated to the state governments. Digital informality offers no escape from tax liability. Every acknowledged electronic text and automated transfer leaves a dutiable footprint. This raises a complex jurisdictional question. What happens when two companies execute an electronic contract that is stored entirely on a cloud server outside Nigeria? This map illustrates the spatial rule. An electronic document is legally defined as being received in Nigeria the exact moment it is accessed, viewed, or stored on any device within the country's borders. The second that foreign data crosses the border and is rendered on a local screen, a statutory countdown clock begins. Section 23 of the Act requires that unstamped instruments be presented and stamped within 40 days of execution. Missing this window triggers compound penalties. You must pay the original unpaid duty, a specific penalty fee, and a 10% per annum interest charge on the unpaid amount from the date of execution. For instruments executed outside Nigeria, the clock is modified. Documents subject to ad valorem duties have 30 days, while general instances have a 21-day window upon receipt. Offshore cloud servers offer zero protection. The simple act of opening a foreign contract on a laptop in Lagos instantly activates a time-sensitive tax liability. The final administrative step to secure a document's legal standing is adjudication. This is the formal process where the Commissioner of Stamp Duties reviews the instrument and determines the precise amount of duty required by law. There is a strict limitation to this process. If a court has already ruled that an instrument is not duly stamped, subsequent adjudication cannot retrospectively fix the error. The damage is permanent. Failing to stamp an instrument is not a criminal offense, but it acts as a legal paralyzer, rendering the document completely unusable in civil proceedings. Completing the adjudication process proves a document's authenticity and locks in its statutory compliance long before any dispute reaches a judge. To secure admissibility, every transaction must run this exact gauntlet. Whether a physical deed or a transient WhatsApp acknowledgement, it must be routed correctly and assessed to receive the required adhesive stamp, embossed die, or digital tag. This tax is the absolute gatekeeper to the protections offered by the Nigerian courts. The brilliance of the drafting means nothing on its own. A contract is only as binding as its strict compliance with the Stamp Duties Act.